would you do if your boyfriend hooked up with another girl at a party you brought him to? Would you cuss him out and kick him to the curb? Really? Stay tuned because today I'm using a scene from the Netflix show You to illustrate just how hookup culture steals your power. Here's the context of the scene. Beck is dating Benji, a model/entrepreneur from a very rich and prestigious family. Beck recently invited Benji to a party at which Benji sneaked off with another girl to do drugs and hook up with her. That brings us to the scene that I'm discussing today. Beck is an aspiring author using a quiet night in to just ground herself, to pursue her dreams, and to start writing. Until Benji calls. Benji calls moments away, just down the street from her apartment. And when Benji shows up, he actually presents us with a 5-step game that happens all the time. And actually, a lot of you ladies have been victim to it yourselves. But before we get into Benji's 5-step game, his 5-step game would not have been possible without Beck's mistakes. And Beck made a few big mistakes. Her first mistake is not blocking Benji's number. Think about it. He violated Beck and the relationship in multiple ways, yet she does not have the self-respect to set a firm boundary and move on. So I'd say that is definitely Beck's first mistake. You invite your boyfriend to a party, he sneaks off with another girl to do drugs and hook up with her, and then shows up at your house trying to justify and excuse it. Are you kidding me? That was your first mistake, honey. Block the beta's number. But she didn't do that. And because she didn't do that, it gave Benji access to her again. He was able to call her, he was able to show up at her house, etc. Big mistake. Beck's second mistake is that she allowed Benji to enter her apartment. So Benji violates Beck and the relationship in multiple ways, then disrespects Beck's autonomy and boundaries by inviting himself over as he is already outside. Think about how entitled you would have to be. This is your girlfriend who invited you to a party, you hooked up with another chick, did drugs behind her back, okay? And now you don't even have the respect for her to approach possibly reconnecting with her in a very respectful way. No, you just show up at her apartment and try to get access in the apartment right away. Again, it's ridiculous. But again, it would not have been possible without Beck allowing him into the apartment. She could have hung up the phone, she could have ignored the knocks on the door, and she certainly could have not answered the door. Second big mistake. Beck's third mistake is she lets Benji get physically close to her. Okay, so he violated her in the relationship in multiple ways. Disrespects Beck's autonomy and boundaries by inviting himself over as he's already outside. And he still has the audacity to approach her with manipulative affection. And I call it manipulative affection because of the next step in Benji's 5-step game plan, okay? We're gonna get to it. Right now we're talking about how this 5-step game was allowed to happen. And the third mistake that Beck made to allow this game to be played on her is she allowed Benji to get physically close. She didn't block the number, which gave him access to her again. Then she allows him in the apartment, which gives him proximity, close physical access to her. Now he's actually starting to come onto her with manipulative affection. She tries to push him back. She tries to hey, dude, go away. But he gets closer and he starts, running his hand through her hair and whispering on her neck. Third big mistake. And Beck's fourth and final mistake is that she has sex with him. Not even good sex. She doesn't come anywhere near to an orgasm. But she has sex with Benji. So let's break this bullshit down. Benji violates Beck and the relationship in multiple ways, then disrespects Beck's autonomy and boundaries by inviting himself over as he is already outside. Then he still has the audacity to approach her with manipulative affection, and now she actually rewards him for this behavior by giving him the one thing he wanted from her, a wet hole, an easy fuck. And when I was watching this, I was practically screaming at the, not practically, I was screaming at the TV because I coached this kind of codependent, needy, desperate behavior out of my aspiring femdoms on a daily basis, okay? And you ladies have fallen for this. And I saw the result play out on the show as it plays out in your lives, ladies, all the time. Do you want to see? Do you want to see the result? Before Beck made her 4 big mistakes and allowed Benji back into her space, okay, what was going on? How was Beck before? She was relaxed, she was focused, and she was investing in herself and in her future. Then what happens? She feels desperate, she feels needy, she feels insecure, and I'll show you how in a minute. She feels all these things. So she lets this douchebag back into her space, and what's the result? Beck is now confused, hurt, rejected, angry, and horny. And she allowed this boy to do this to her. She allowed this little beta bitch to emotionally manipulate her and use her for his own pleasure, and she got nothing. She gave her power up and got no pleasure in return. And you ladies think that that is a good thing, to step in the right direction for women? We call that feminism? Come on. So let's go back through this scene and identify the 5 steps that Benji used to manipulate Beck, because these 5 steps are used against you ladies all the time. And again, this is something that I have to work with a lot of you ladies on, whether you're submissive or an aspiring femdom, is there is this condition in your mind and your hearts, ladies, and we're going to get to it in a minute, that allows beta bitches who have less power than you to mind fuck you, manipulate you, use you, and leave you. And here's how they do it. First step, proximity. That's Benji's first goal. He has to get close to his target again. So his target being Beck, he basically invites himself over and starts physically getting very, very close to her. Again, by, putting his hands through her hair, whispering in her ear, etc. Proximity is a strategic maneuver that abusers, that douchebags, that manipulators, that the people that you don't want in your life will use against you, okay? And they will manipulate you into feeling like, oh, this is so good that they're close again. No, proximity is the first step that allowed the other 4 steps of manipulation to take place. Benji's second step was to pacify Beck by soothing any unwanted emotions through false compliments and emotional manipulation. And we see this play out very, very quickly before they have sex. As he's running his hands through her hair, whispering in her ear, he says, I don't just want to be some guy you sleep with. And what does that mean? We're pacifying her emotion, her need for commitment, consistency, etc., without actually addressing anything. Catch that? I don't want to just be some guy you sleep with, but he never actually says what he wants to be in her life. Pay attention for that, ladies. They're pacifying your emotions without actually addressing them. And as he's all kissing up on her, he says another thing. He says, God, you make me insane, okay? And to most of you, and Beck in this situation, she just gobbled it up. But let me tell you what that actually means, what he's actually doing here. He's pacifying her. He's basically speaking to her place of insecurity and need for acceptance. Okay? So think about it. What does that mean? God, you make me insane. Okay, thanks. Maybe. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Tell me I'm sexy. Tell me I'm beautiful. Tell me I'm valuable. Tell me how much you care about me and how committed you are. Like, give me something. Not, God, you make me insane. But again, we're pacifying the emotion. We don't really care about the emotion. We're just pacifying the emotion because we know that she's not going to allow us to fuck her if she's still upset. And that leads us into Benji's third step, which was pleasure. Not for Beck, not for the relationship, but only for himself. Self-pleasure. And he got it. He played the first 2 cards very well, and he's with a very needy, insecure girl, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And so she rewards this little beta bitch with sex. And you might think, okay, well, he got what he wanted. We're done. What are the other 2 steps? The other 2 steps allow him to do this again, okay? So we like that we got rewarded for treating a girl like shit, so we want to set it up to where she'll allow it again. And that brings us to our 4th point. Benji patronized Beck. He positions himself in an alpha role so she feels inferior and insecure, allowing him to repeat the cycle. And he says this in 3 striking comments as he and Beck are getting dressed after their very quick and very unfulfilling romp. He says, number 1, she has a book on the table called Desperate Characters, and so he looks at the book and he goes, well, you're not a desperate character. You're the opposite, babe. You're the smartest girl I know. He goes on to say, honestly, you blow me away. And they chit-chat for a minute, her guard's getting down again, and then he says, by the way, the extra weight looks good on you, okay? Then he takes a call about pizza and walks out the door. So, before sex, we boosted her ego. God, you make me insane. I don't want to just be some guy you sleep with. She rewards him for treating her like shit. And then what happens after? We want to perpetuate this cycle, and if she's feeling confident, she's going to set boundaries with us. So what do we have to do? We want to put ourselves, the predator, the abuser, the manipulator, into an alpha position again. That's exactly what he does. So we start undercutting her. Not aggressively, not overtly, but we start undercutting her. You're the smartest girl I know, which also brings in woman against woman. Oh, he knows other girls, and he's comparing me against other girls? Okay. Honestly, you blow me away. Again, what the fuck does that even mean? Yeah, I blow you away because I'm a good lay? Like, what? Literally, what does that even? God, you blow me away. Be specific, bitch. And then the extra weight looks good on you. Hey, you know what? I don't care what weight you are, what size you are. I want you to be confident in your own skin. That was in the context here. It was an undercutting, patronizing comment, and we saw that she very much received it that way. She started kind of looking down in on herself and becoming in her head. And then he bails. And Benji's final step that we just mentioned is to peace out. Benji leaves fulfilled because he got what he wanted. His ego is boosted. And his manipulative behavior of Beck has been actually validated by Beck, which is the most twisted part of this. But now we need to talk about Beck's downfall, okay? We talked about her mistakes at the beginning, how this behavior, this mistreatment, she allowed it. She technically did, okay? And yes, I'm with those of you who are watching going, Benji should never have treated Beck like that. Doesn't matter if she had boundaries or not, he should not have treated her like that. And I am 100% in agreement with you. Absolutely. But here's the thing. Abusers, manipulators, they don't give a shit about your lack of boundaries. The lack of boundaries only makes you an easy target, okay? So Beck did have a role to play in this. And ladies, you have a role to play in your own power too. You cannot just go around, well, he used me, he manipulated me, da-da-da-da-da. No, you're allowing it, just like Beck allowed it, okay? So ladies, if you want to be feminists, if you want to be alpha females, knock it the fuck off and stop rewarding beta bitch men who are using you and throwing you out. But like I said earlier, there was something in Beck's mind, heart, soul, everything that allowed this to take place, that allowed her, that made her feel okay with not having boundaries, that made her feel okay being devalued and disrespected. And it has everything to do with a point that I made in one of my latest videos about cuties and how cuties fucks up feminism, okay? Beck fell for exactly what I was trying to convey in that video. Beck felt deeply insecure. Beck had a deep need for acceptance, and therefore Beck sought attention instead of demanding respect. And that's the thing. Beck didn't actually like Benji. She didn't love him. She didn't respect him. She really didn't even have a good time with him, and he really wasn't good in bed. So what was the appeal there? He met a need that she had. In a very, very twisted way, ladies, this is how a lot of you choose your men. And this is why you're getting fucked over by the men that you're choosing, because she didn't choose him because she wanted him, liked him, loved him, respected him, all of that. She chose him because He spoke to her insecurity. Think about it. Beck is an aspiring author. She's in a new city. She's all alone, okay? Then we have this guy who's a model, who's an entrepreneur, comes from a very rich, successful, prestigious family, and he pays attention to her. What does that do in Beck's mind and in Beck's heart? It basically gives her the message that someone so powerful and influential chose me, so I must be worthy. Do you see how dangerous this is, ladies? When you don't value yourself, when you don't see the innate worth that you do have, when you don't see your innate power, you will give your worth, give your power, give your authority away to beta bitches who don't deserve it, don't know how to handle it, and can't even handle themselves. This is not feminism, ladies, and this is certainly not femdom. It's time to start valuing yourselves, ladies. It's time to start respecting yourselves. And it's time to start demanding respect versus seeking attention.